Welcome to 3CountCommentaries. So, this episode of NXT was pretty good. It was clearly affected by COVID, but they set up all the good plans for New Year's Evil, and this was a hell of a go-home show, which featured, I think, the birth of one of the best promo guys in the business right now, and that being Trick Williams. Without a shadow of a doubt, Trick Williams is becoming one hell of a promo. His verbiage, his style, his delivery, it's tremendous. The promo he's cut on this show make him a top tier promo guy. As far as being humorous and delivering a message, it was absolutely awesome stuff. But before we get to Trick Williams, we have to talk about Grayson Waller, who is also another pretty good promo guy. He appears, and the crowd chants asshole at him. Then they also chanted for AJ. Grayson Waller said he got himself a Christmas present, which was a trip to Raw. Said that AJ wanted some clout and doesn't understand why anyone likes AJ. And that AJ Styles' theme song is one of the top 5 worst songs he's ever heard. And that there's no brighter star in WWE than Grayson Waller. And he would have beaten up AJ that night if it wasn't Commander Aziz. So then he says that Dexter Lumis was not going to be medically cleared. That his cold fish or catfish of a wife, Indy Hartwell, is going to be back there tending to his wounds. And that Indy Hartwell was a Dexter Lumis 10, but a Grayson Waller 3. All of this was tremendous. All of this was very good. His timing is very good. His antics are pretty good too. This was a really good promo. You know, him saying that AJ Styles theme song is one of the top 5 worst songs he's ever heard. I'm like, brother, you need to listen to more music because AJ Styles theme song knocks is really dope. But his diss on Indy Hartwell, calling her a Dexter Lumis 10, but a Grayson Waller 3. Oh, that one cut to the bone, daddy. That one cut to the bone. Oh boy. She ain't hot enough for him. His replacement, the Dexter Lumis' replacement, was Odyssey Jones, who called Grayson Waller a bitch after he left the ring because he didn't want to fight Odyssey Jones. He didn't have the match. The match was very solid. The finish came with Grayson Waller exposing the turnbuckle. Odyssey Jones goes for the splash in the corner, misses. He hits the turnbuckle. Grayson Waller, has a rolling stunner that he bounces from outside into the ring. It is a tumble, essentially, into a stunner. Odyssey Jones sold it like he had been, clotheslined by, Stan Hansen. And it ended up at the pinfall. Very interesting when it comes to this style of match. Usually somebody like Odyssey Jones would, I would be kind of about a guy his size selling for and losing to a guy the size of Grayson Waller. It's kind of weird, but it seems like Odyssey Jones is kind of in the lurch right now, where they're not sure where he fits in. Where it seemed like he was supposed to get called up, but then that call up got canceled, and now he just kind of is floating around NXT. And Grayson Waller, of course, is the golden boy right now. He's really good at selling. His strikes make sense. I'm not sure why he's wearing boxing shorts. I think he's a boxer. I don't really Google guys' backstories. I kind of avoid that. But I think he is a trained boxer. But his strikes look pretty good too. So he's got good selling, good strikes, and good promos. He can work on his facial expressions, a lot of stuff like that. But a lot of what Grayson Waller brings to the table is actually working. He's looking very good. Later in the show, he gets into it with MSK, where he tells MSK to screw them, and they told him that he has really bad language, which is awful. It's awful. So after that, AJ Styles told Grayson Waller he will be showing up to New Year's Evil, which led to a lot of people to thinking it was going to be a match. Turns out it's not going to be a match. Instead, it's just going to be a quote-unquote confrontation where AJ Styles is going to get in the face of Grayson Waller on New Year's Evil. And I think this is good, because Grayson Waller shouldn't be losing matches, and definitely AJ Styles shouldn't be losing matches to guys in NXT. So avoiding that by booking it as a confrontation where they can have an exchange of words, which probably ends with Grayson Waller getting knocked outside the ring or getting P1 forearmed and knocked out, phenomenal forearmed and knocked out. That would probably be fine. Or Grayson Waller gets some heat and actually beats up on on AJ Styles. Either way, he can't really lose. He's a relative unknown. So any eyeballs that actually watch his segments right now, it's all for the good. Right now, you really don't have... The thing is, he just cannot get beat like a drum in these matches. That's the most important thing, is that he at least comes out of these matches not getting his ass kicked. Now, I think there's probably just going to be a setup for the return of LA Knight. Because remember, he's not done feuding with LA Knight. So it's likely that this is all just going to be a setup for the return of LA Knight, who's going to handle AJ Styles' light work. But I do wonder, how are we going to end the feud between AJ Styles and Grayson Waller? How do we end that feud? Do we have to have the match, don't we? So do you have the match on NXT to try to pop a rating? Which, not that much of a problem. I don't mind that. Or do you try to save it for a takeover? But when the hell is the next takeover? So there's no telling. So I'm guessing they're probably going to have AJ Styles versus Grayson Waller on TV. It definitely shouldn't be trying to do it on Raw, because I don't want Grayson Waller to stay away from Raw for a little while. It was good to get attention, but not really thrilled by the idea of Grayson Waller hanging around on Raw for too much. But I do love the AJ Styles being involved in NXT. I think that's great. That's excellent. So Raquel, Gonzalez, and Cora Jade said that they will be coexisting to take out toxic trash. Then Io Shirai shows up, says she wants a title shot no matter who wins the triple threat match next week. Kaylee Ray also wants a title shot no matter who wins next week. This gives Mandy Rose an idea, because she's on the screen. She just magically pops up because, apparently she can hear things through screens. She wasn't even there, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, how fortuitous of me to have my 4 opponents, the 4 people who want to chase me for the title, all arguing right now in this particular place, right in front of this TV. How fortuitous!" Anyway, Toxic Attraction gets the night off, and the match is replaced. It will be Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray versus Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez, and the winners will be the 2 that will face Mandy Rose in the triple threat match for the women's championship. I thought this was a good way to utilize everybody involved and to explain why Toxic Attraction isn't there. Obviously, we probably know there's probably going to be some COVID related stuff, but this was a really good replacement that actually added something, because they added stakes to it, and these are bigger stars. So instead of having the women's tag team champions probably get beat, in a non-title match, or beating the number 1 contenders for the women's titles, or having a disqualification or a count out or something silly like that, you had 2 women who were in the running, but at the same time kind of not, fill in and give the contenders a really tough match. And so this was the main event of the show: Io Shirai and Kaylee Ray versus Raquel Gonzalez and Cora Jade. A very solid match, and the teams were working together until the very end, where Raquel Gonzalez kind of going on her tear, and she ends up hitting Kaylee Ray with a Chingoa bomb. At that point, Cora Jade tagged herself in, similar to War Games, where she was going to take the pin. Raquel Gonzalez was upset about this for some odd reason. I mean, this is a brick-brained idea to get real upset and tight-ass because you won't get the pin in this match. Anyway, she actually breaks up the pinfall as Cora Jade got Kaylee Ray pinned. Raquel Gonzalez actually breaks it up on her own, not by accident. She breaks it up on her own to argue with Cora Jade about who's going to win this match. Not like it matters. It doesn't matter, because both winners get into the title match, right? Cora Jade ends up rolling up Kaylee Ray. So even though they didn't coexist, they started arguing during the match. They still won. Kaylee Ray was defeated. So Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez will continue on to New Year's Evil. Mandy Rose said that their selfish desires will cost them the title, and that's why she wanted a triple threat match, because she knows that they'll eventually start fighting and taking out each other, which will allow her to take out 2 birds with 1 stone. All right, fine. I think Kaylee Ray is in the same position as Grizzly Young Veterans, which was in the same position as Tony Storm, which was in this. The only person who came from NXT UK really got over and was able to do anything was Rhea Ripley. Even Pete Dunne, he came over from NXT UK and he's just been having good matches. That's it. Storylines, not really. Even when he's even when he had that partnership with Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch and all that kind of stuff, they just kind of seemed to be floating. It seemed to be directionless. But the person who came in and really got over from NXT UK was Rhea Ripley. She came in and pretty much beat Shayna Baszler almost immediately, and was heralded as a hero and really, really, really got over. It was almost like magic that she got over so strongly in NXT, but she was the only one. Like, usually when they bring somebody over from NXT UK, they struggle. Ilya Dragunov lost his only NXT match. And that was to Pete Dunne. That sucks. Well, I guess you can say his NXT TV match. The only one he ever had, and he lost it. And he was the top contender for the NXT UK title. You would think that this was booked by, if something like this were to occur, and it was, NXT talent going to Raw and losing, people would say, oh, it's Bruce Pritchard, it's Vince McMahon, it's Kevin Dunn, it's somebody like this. As a matter of fact, it was some interesting stuff came out about Karrion Kross, where he was talking about his match with Jeff Hardy was supposed to be 10 minutes. And then it got cut down to 90 seconds, and he had to put Jeff over. And he didn't find out that it was getting cut down to 90 seconds until he was in the ring. He seemed to not have too much of a problem with what took place, except for I don't think he cared too much for the outfit, the mask and everything. But he seemed to not have a whole hell of a lot of sour grapes, unlike Keith Lee. Keith Lee definitely has sour grapes. Also, as a little aside, we actually did get an explanation to why Scarlett was not on the main roster. She apparently had a boob leak, so she wasn't medically cleared. Interesting thing is, I believe I was one of the people saying that she probably wasn't going to be medically cleared, that there might be something going on with her. And everybody was just jumping to conclusions, not really just saying that she was being held back because they didn't want Karrion Kross to get over and all that kind of stuff. I was like, we don't know what was going on. Now we find out she had a boob leak, similar to the one Charlotte had. Now, considering Karrion Kross wasn't not around long enough for her to go get that taken care of and brought back, Karrion Kross was on the main roster for what, 3 months? Maybe 4, pushing it. It took Charlotte about 6 months to get her stuff together when her boob started leaking. So she didn't have a lot of time. How did I end up on the subject of Karrion Kross? Oh, okay. I was talking about I forget what I was talking about. I was talking about people who go from one brand to another. Anyway, what I mean is NXT UK talent goes over to NXT. You would think it's 2 different people booking that stuff, but it's not. It's Shawn Michaels. So it's like Shawn Michaels booked Kaylee Ray to have that super long title run in NXT UK. And then when she was done over there, he brought her over here. And now he just kind of throw his hands up like, I don't know what to do with her now. It's like, well, I understand you can't make her the champion for 700 days like you did before. But surely you liked her enough to do something with her. Like he was working in NXT, in some type of capacity when Tony Storm was brought over. Same thing with Pete Dunne. He's been working in NXT UK and been booking that show for a while now. But somehow these people are transitioning from NXT UK is not doing well in NXT. But people aren't noticing it because it's NXT UK to NXT. But if it was NXT to Raw or NXT to SmackDown, people would be screaming and throwing shit. So, and then it was another one we'll talk about later when it comes to people getting really upset about guys losing matches. But Cora, Jade, and Raquel Gonzalez win the match. Right decision. They don't change that match. I still believe that Mandy is likely going to win anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. But it was entertaining. It was fun. That was cool. So because I mentioned MSK, what Grayson Waller earlier, they were super cringe. That you're using such foul language. All he said was screw. It's like, I hate these guys, man. These guys are trash, bro. In any event, they had their segment. MSK went out there and was being absolutely cornballish. They suck so bad. I'm trying to make this short as possible. They said that they still kind of feel bad about losing the NXT Tag Team Championships, but they went on a journey, found their shaman bro, and got them flying higher, quote unquote, than ever before. Then Riddle popped up on the screen and says, "Sorry, bros, change plans, bro, but that will be there in spirit, like a higher power." And Riddle has become like Brock from Pokemon, where his eyes never open. Like, I think he cut that entire promo with his eyes closed. And I was just kind of like, what is this? Anyway, he said it was their destiny to be the NXT Tag Team Champions and gave them the floor so that they could call out Imperium. So they do so. They called out Imperium. They were still being cornballs. Imperium comes out there, said that they'll never be able to touch them. The titles will stay with them. Then Walter appeared on the screen. Walter said that MSK is a disgrace and that Imperium treats the titles with respect and that MSK does not deserve a championship match. Riddle cut in as if he was listening on the other side, like it was a Zoom call or something like that. I actually liked this, that Riddle didn't really hang up. He was watching along, as Walter cut in and started dressing MSK down. So he called Imperium Euro trash and challenged them to a 6-man tag match. Walter and Imperium, Walter with the rest of Imperium rather, versus Riddle and MSK. This is going to kick much ass. This is going to kick all the ass. All of it. I love this. This is great. This is going to be fun. The Riddle Walter stuff is going to rule. This is great. My only problem with Imperium is they haven't been together in a long time. I know that things got kind of weird as Alexander Wolf got released. I don't know if he asked for his release or if he got fired. I think he got fired, but he might have actually asked for his release. I know he went back to WXW where he strangely enough, he's champion now. That was disappointing because Marius Alani was very good. Hopefully he can get an NXT UK contract because he's very good. Anyway, I gotta stop going off on tangents. Imperium has not been together as a unit in a long time. So that's another good thing about this, is that they're still Imperium, but they haven't been together as a unit since the Alexander Wolf thing kind of fell through. So the question, of course, comes from all of this is who wins? Do you beat Walter in this match? Obviously, he's not going to take the pin. Obviously, Riddle is not going to take the pin either. So I'm guessing Bartel is probably going to get pinned. In order to get MSK, the whole thing about them not deserving a title shot, which means they have to win in order to deserve the title shot. So that means they're probably going to end up beating Imperium. And that sucks, but at least it furthers the storyline and it's not being done in an absolutely silly way or for a silly reason. But I just can't wait till Riddle and Walter start, laying the leather on each other. That ought to be fun. And yes, I know they wrestled each other before. So we got a small vignette for Tiffany Stratton, because her daddy said she was ready to take over NXT, but is NXT ready for Tiffany Stratton? Later on the third match of the show, Tiffany Stratton defeated Fallon Henley, who I'm told was an AEW job wrestler. I don't know what her name was. I don't watch AEW job shows. So Tiffany Stratton used basic wrestling offense. A lot of armbar, a lot of chin lock in this match. I was not offended by this. I think she had some pretty basic stuff. I mean, it's good sometimes to see people have a handle on the basics. She wins the match with a flatliner. And of course, the internet hates Tiffany Stratton. Still, you have wrestling websites talking about her gimmick is so annoying, and she's going to have go away heat with everybody. And I remember, me and this guy basically said that anybody who's a real heel these days, y'all claim he have go away heat. If somebody isn't one of these cool heels that's trying to pop you with their inside references and their fourth wall breaking, then you complain about them being a heel. It's almost as if you don't know what the fuck a heel is or how a heel is supposed to work. You're not supposed to like them. Okay? But again, Tiffany Stratton had one match on television, and people are absolutely melting down over this character. The immediate responses that I have seen. I want to rant about this a little bit later because I saw a Fightful article that made me absolutely churn my stomach. What they did is it compared Harlan to Hook, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Okay, it was ridiculous. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to give you the general idea of it. And Tiffany Stratton falls into that same category where people are watching this character for the first time and they've already jumped to the conclusions of she's going to fail, or she's not going to be very good, or she's going to have go away heat, or all this kind of stuff, as if wrestling is designed for the first year or so of your career. It's like when people get into this business, they don't know how long their careers are going to be. It could be 10 years. It doesn't matter how they start. It only matters how they finish. And to be quite honest, the more praise you put on people when they first start, the less likely they are actually to get to the end and still be just as hot as when they began. But, that's neither here nor there. So Tiffany Stratton gets a lot of heat all of a sudden, just for existing. She just popped up on the screen. Her promos bother people, which is good. That's the stated goal of being a heel, is to get people to be upset by you. And she does a good job of being, to be quite honest, I can't even say she's doing a good job because she hasn't done anything. She hasn't cut her live promo or anything. I thought she was going to appear sort of with like a little puppy dog, kind of like Taya Valkyrie was supposed to do as Frankie Monet. I thought that's what she was going to do, or have something similar to that. But she's wearing like a little tennis skirt or whatever. And her match was fine. It was nothing offensive, nothing too upsetting. There was nothing to be upset about. And all she really did was blow kisses and have a basic wrestling match. And then people were just trying to say how her career is going to be in the toilet. Because reasons. It's so embarrassing. And you can tell that these people are pretty young. And and this is another interesting thing, not to go off on a tangent, but Toni Storm, recently, I saw this little clip that she was talking to Ryan Satin. And she was talking about how, getting off of social media made it so much easier for her to find herself in the business, in WWE rather. And I'm thinking that everybody who's on NXT probably need to get off social media, because right now there are people out there trying to destroy their confidence. Every single week, there are people out there with blue check marks on Twitter who have some kind of quote unquote respect in the wrestling space, who is out there absolutely trying to eviscerate everybody on NXT every single week. It gets to the point where sometimes they'll be having a good match and they'll be giving the referee credit. Or they'll do little shit like they'll have a decent match. Solo Sikoa and Santos Escobar. I don't want to talk about that. Matter of fact, let's talk about that now. So Zion Quinn told Elektra Lopez that she had to make a decision tonight. Is it going to be him, or is it going to be Legado del Fantasma? So later in the show, the cameraman decided to do an interview. He walks up to Santos Escobar, asks him about this thing. The Legado del Fantasma told him to fuck off, essentially. Then they confront Elektra Lopez about this thing, about what's happening here. She's feeling cornered, and things are not really going well for her. Then Solo Sikoa kind of walks through the scene. Santos Escobar doesn't like that. He complains about it. They agree to have a match later. They have the match. Match was very good. Santos Escobar is very good. Solo Sikoa is coming along. There's two sets of interference. There is Legado del Fantasma interfering, which allows Santos Escobar to get the control over Solo Sikoa. Then Zion Quinn comes out there. Santos Escobar attacks Zion Quinn with a tope through the ropes. He's beating the tar out of this kid. Then he gets back in the ring, gets super kicked by Solo Sikoa, Uso splash, gets pinned. He loses. So we didn't get Elektra Lopez's decision, but we did get that Zion Quinn is the reason why Santos Escobar lost. Now, in this match, it takes two to have a good match. But everybody was giving credit to Santos Escobar. And I know I'm a big fan of Santos Escobar too. But, you know, he wasn't in there by himself. You know, like, here's the weird thing, because I heard so much about this. I don't know what his name was on the Independents, but I heard so much about him before he signed to NXT. And then all of a sudden he got lumped in with everybody else in NXT where he doesn't get any credit for anything. He has a good match. All of a sudden, oh yeah, Santos Escobar had a really good match. It's like that little shit where you just know that there is bullshit in the game. And this has been going on for like, NXT 2.0 has been going on for like 3 months now. You know, anybody who's still watching this stuff and is bitter about it is just being a big ass baby at this point. At some point, you have to get the fuck over it. Those guys are gone. You know, they're gone. And it is what it is. You get to lick the boots of AEW because those guys are gone. Who gives a fuck? At that point, it's over. Right? And now we're just going to shit on all the new guys until what? What do you expect to happen? You shit on all Solo Sikoa and Brian Breaker and Grayson Waller, and you shit all over them. Are they supposed to just go away? Are they going to all of a sudden bring back the black and gold brand because blue check marks on Twitter don't like it? What's supposed to happen? Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole are supposed to come back? They're not coming back. So why the fuck are you spending all your time dissing and shitting on these guys? You know, that kind of petty shit gets on my nerves. Now, I agreed with some of these stuff. You know, that Legado del Fantasma are probably better off leaving and going to Raw or SmackDown. I actually agree with that, you know. But, you know, the constant attacks on a lot of the young talent in NXT and the destroying of their confidence or trying to, like they don't see that stuff, like people aren't tweeting that shit at them, it's absolutely embarrassing. It's stupid. It's like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. When they got rid of NXT, they got rid of it. When they got rid of that shit, they got rid of it. All of those pieces are gone. You can't put them back. That's the good thing about AEW existing. Because now WWE can't go back. Can't go back to being indie marks. You have to develop new talent. So let the new talent develop. You know, that's the eyeball thing, right? It's because when you argue about these people about the way things should be, they tell you need to shut up and move along, and the business has changed, and you need to grow with the business, or the business is going to pass you by, which they tell, you know, Cornette and Russo and Vince and everybody who has like a sort of an old school mindset when it comes to wrestling. They say, oh, you got this, it's not the 80s anymore. You know, yes, we have 45-minute matches where guys run around in circles and do 1,000 knee drops and, you know, drop each other on their heads and all that kind of stuff. And these matches are an hour with no finish because, you know, that's the style that we grew up with when it comes to Ring of Honor and shit like that, when it was 500 people in the bingo hall, you know. But they don't have that same mentality when it comes to, you know, WWE is moving on from your bingo hall mentality, your bingo hall guys, and trying to make legitimate stars out of younger talent. You know, it's not like they replaced them with like a bunch of Goldbergs or anything like that. You know, so it's a very weird thing. And I think they would be better off if NXT talent got off of social media, because there's a lot of people tweeting a lot of bullshit out there. And Tony Storm was smart to get off his Twitter, especially Twitter, because Twitter's a cesspool, you know. But Santos Escobar had a good match with Solo Sikoa, helped him along. Solo Sikoa probably needs to lose some weight. You know, he's very heavy. And that's one of the few criticisms I have for him. Again, if he's just going to be a third Uso, he probably should just go to Raw or SmackDown. I think he'd be better off. He'd probably learn more on the road with his brothers than he would in NXT. I guess he has to pay his dues, sure, which everybody does. But I'm not expecting him to be in NXT for 2 years, 3 years, or whatever. I expect him to end up in the Bloodline probably within the next year or so. You know, but he was attacked by Boa afterwards, so they're still with the Boa and Solo Sikoa thing. They're still with it. They're still going along with that. All right, whatever. Let's get back on track. Let's focus up. So because we still got more NXT to cover, even though I'm keep going on tangents. I don't know why. So Joe Gacy and Harlan. Gacy reminded Harlan that Brian Kendrick called him a freak. Like, you're no freak, Harlan. So then we have Harlan versus Brian Kendrick. Harlan is standing in the ring. He is stone-faced, flat affect, waiting for Brian Kendrick. His music plays, but Brian Kendrick no-shows. Apparently, Brian Kendrick was another one of these people probably pulled for COVID concerns or whatever. So Gacy gets on the microphone and says that Brian Kendrick is afraid to admit that he did Harlan wrong. And he called Harlan names, and he's just like everybody else in the world. Andre Chase decides to come out and say that this was a teachable moment. And that at Chase University, they don't run away or quit or hide from their problems. Gacy likes, Chase University, says that, he enjoys Chase University. Said that Harlan was in school at one point, and then he got unjustly expelled. And he thanked Andre Chase for volunteering to replace Brian Kendrick. Of course, Andre Chase was like, huh? And before he got a chance to do too much of anything, Harlan put them hands on him and was dribbling his head across the mat to the referee's stoppage. So they turned Harlan into this like almost serial killer, where he's a pretty dangerous guy. He's a bad man. So he wins via referee stoppage. So afterwards, Gacy coerces Harlan into leaving, and then they're standing on near the entrance, and Gacy asks Harlan if he feels better. To which Harlan, he doesn't really feel better. At this point, a Chase University student is in the ring checking on Andre Chase. Harlan then snatches this guy and kidnaps him. Throw him over his shoulder like a caveman. And I'm thinking, okay, Gacy is finally about to start building his cult. He's about to start, get this guy, he's going to brainwash him or something like that. No, actually, it's a lot more dramatic than this. Harlan and Gacy take this guy to the roof. He's going to throw this guy off of the roof. Oh, shit. So Harlan he's dangling this guy like Batman off the fucking roof. And the guy is like, please don't do this to me. And eventually Gacy talked him down. I was like, why didn't he just throw the motherfucker off the roof? That'd have been cool. But we see that Gacy is slowly but surely taking it to the next level. Slowly but surely. He's slowly but surely getting more and more violent, And his character is complete horseshit. He wants to be passive and he wants to be nonviolent. But of course, he's becoming the most violent guy on the entire roster, which is actually very fun. So Harlan and Gacy, they continue to rule. Gacy continues to be a creep. Harlan continues to be a monster. This is excellent. I like this pairing. Gacy is an excellent character. So starting back, Idris Inofe said that his first win felt fantastic. Then Von Wagner said that he was lucky, and some new guy got in the way. I think it was Malik Blade. That's who it was, because they had a match later. So yeah, that is. Malik Blade got in Von Wagner's face and got shoved. The arguing back and forth led to a match, Von Wagner versus Malik Blade. This match, for some reason, was lengthy. Instead of Von Wagner just winning this match in a squash-like fashion, Malik Blade actually got offense, which was awful. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why he needed to have offense at all. Von Wagner ends up winning. I don't know why he had to have such a tough match. And the crowd was not feeling this, because why should this match be of any length? Malik Blade is a job guy. He doesn't beat anybody. He should just go in there and get killed. Von Wagner should just kill this guy. So Idris Inofe ends up saving Malik Blade from a post-match beating, and Robert Stone is watching this whole thing. I'm not a big fan of Von Wagner. I've been very critical of Von Wagner for a little while now, that he's very big and he's very plain. He probably would have been better as a choice for Harlan, because he needs something. He needs something different. I'm not sure Robert Stone can be the one. Starters, Robert Stone doesn't have any credibility, and that's a big knock on him. But Idris Inofe and Malik Blade as a tag team or something like that could quite possibly be fun, I guess. I don't see any reason why, they can't be a tag team. They need more tag teams in this division anyway, because the tag team division is very, lackluster. So it ought to be fine. I just want to know where this is going. What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose? All right, so now we have to talk about my favorite segment of the show, the title unification contract signing. And this is where I have to, I very rarely say stuff like this, but man, if you can listen to a Trick Williams promo and you don't think that this dude is an excellent promo, you honestly don't know shit about wrestling. This dude is fucking tremendous. He's fucking good. So, Bivens, throughout the night, they kept saying that Melo and Trick weren't there, which led a lot of people to believe that they were probably scratches for COVID reasons. Then Melo and Trick shows up, and Trick tells Rod Strong that we decided to call you the B champion because you won't be champion for much longer. And everybody, so that wasn't even the end. Like, that was funny. That was funny enough. Then he gets in the ring and he is absolutely just cutting wild promos. And Malcolm Bivens has to translate Trick Williams promo. So he's putting it in, he's white splaining these promos to people who can understand it. He has to, so he has to explain to the rest of Diamond Mine what the hell Trick Williams is even saying to them and why. So he explains that Roderick Strong is a secondary champion. That's why they call him the B champion or whatever. So then Malcolm Bivens says that, don't they understand that they're outnumbered? And Trick Williams said, outnumbered? It says, I ain't never outnumbered. So I'm 6'4", 235. I got 2 women, 2 feet, 8 abs. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck? So it just came so fast that I was like, what the fuck? He said, I'm 6'5", 235 pounds. I got 8 abs, 2 women, 2 feet that go straight up to Diamond Mines. You know what? I was like, this dude is tremendous. This is awesome shit here. He's kicking riddles out here. This shit was great. And Bivens is completely flummoxed by Trick Williams' promo. He's like, what? So Carmelo Hayes cuts his promo, talks about how he don't miss. He's very subdued in comparison to Trick Williams, who's very energetic and very in your face. Carmelo's very cool, very laid back, not as confrontational, but very cocky, while Trick Williams is confrontational and cocky. So after they cut their promo, Trick Williams is going to leave. Malcolm Bivens starts to decide he's going to mess with Trick Williams and start talking about Trick Williams losing to Dexter Lumis. So then Trick Williams corners Malcolm Bivens and said, I tell you a long time ago to shut your mouth when grown folks is talking. He's like, hey brother, can we all get along? Oh, of course, he fell for the okie doke. He got jumped and power slammed through a table or some shit. So Carmelo Hayes basically just sat there and watched as Trick Williams got put through a table. I don't know who the baby faces are. I don't know who the heels are. None of it matters. It's all fun and funny. I guess Diamond Mine I guess they're the baby faces. I don't know. I have no idea. Trick Williams is a baby face in my book, so I guess that's kind of how it is. He's a baby face in my book. I love Trick Williams. That dude is fucking awesome. I was floored by this promo, dog. I was taken apart by this whole thing. He said, I ain't never outnumbered. I'm like, what? He got a promo using a bunch of numbers. Dude is tremendous, dog. I'm sorry. He's very good. He's in some ways outshining Carmelo. Carmelo's obviously a better wrestler than he is. He has a little bit more experience. But it comes to charisma, personality, character. Trick Williams is tremendous. He's very good. So from this whole shabazzle, I ended up learning that the unification will end up being the North American title. So the Cruiserweight title is gone, even if Roderick Strong wins. So the winner will be the North American champion. So they're not going to rename the belt at all, even though they probably should. They really should rebrand, maybe get some new designs for these titles, and to go with the new look of the brand. That would be nice. Even though I like the look of especially the women's tag team belts. I actually like how those belts look. I like how all the NXT belts look. The big penny design for the North American title, it works. It works, but I think that I'm one of those people that say go scorched earth with the whole NXT thing. Like, soon as we get all the belts off of the NXT 1.0 guys and all that shit, just get rid of those fucking belt designs too. Like, change everything, dog. Get rid of it. But so I'm excited for this match. I got a feeling this is going to open the show in order to give the main event room to breathe. But that New Year's Evil is a stacked card. It's super stacked. If I need to do like a short amount of predictions, I'm guessing Carmelo Hayes is going to defeat Roderick Strong. Even though he shouldn't, Brian Breakker is going to defeat Tommaso Ciampa. Even though I don't believe he should, I believe that it probably should be a while. I'm going to guess that Samoa Joe shows up at the end of this show. Hopefully, to give Brian Breakker somebody to fight that's still sort of NXT, and sort of a final boss for him to really push him further. He's going to need opponents if and when he does become champion. I'm guessing Mandy Rose is going to win her match too, unless they really high on Cora Jade, which they might be. She's very plain. I don't see why they would be very high on Cora Jade, but it seems to me that she's got the rocket strapped to her right now, and Raquel Gonzalez doesn't need to be there. She's one of those chicks that probably should have got called up, maybe a couple of months ago. And so her hanging around NXT is basically her aiding some little needed star power. She's not that big of a star, but she's a recognizable name. It's like Dakota Kai still being there, and like Io Shirai still being there. Even though they're bigger stars than she is, probably not Dakota Kai, but they're familiar names. They're familiar enough. So I think those three matches will go that way. Carmelo Hayes will win. Tommaso Ciampa will lose to Brian Breakker, and likely Cora Jade will win the women's title, even though she probably shouldn't. And it's too soon. Like, this is the thing. Like, I don't understand the rush to make these young people champions right now. It's not necessary. Take your time. Let people get really, really invested in the stories and characters of these people. Instead of trying to say, oh, they got a little bit of momentum, let's just throw the belt on them right now. It's like, it's not necessary. Like, why rush it? Because you ain't doing nothing when you rush it, but burning it out. People are going to get tired of it very fast. So, NXT was a solid show. I'm looking forward to NXT New Year's Evil. It was a great go-home show for New Year's Evil. It really made me excited for everything that's going to take place on that show. See some continued development from all of the young stars that I think is pretty cool. Tony D'Angelo cut a promo on Petey Poppins, where he introduced him to his friend Mr. Crowbar, and said that his grandpa Junior told him to always find the closest bully and to beat him up, and they shouldn't come back. But he told Pete if he comes back, or he made fun of Pete's pain face too, which I thought was pretty funny. But then said that if he comes back, he's gonna wish he hadn't, or something to that effect. So Tony D'Angelo was represented on this show very well. So they did a good job of really touching on all the bases. There was no real storyline that I can think of right now that wasn't touched on this show and wasn't furthered to some degree. And the matches were very solid. Nothing that really was mind blowing as far as, wow, this match of the year candidate, but solid, serviceable matches that served the stories that really got somebody over. No silly disqualifications, no silly countouts or anything like that. So it worked. They did what they're doing right now is slow burning a lot of these characters and a lot of these stories. And they're not really hot-shotting anything. They seem to have a plan for most of the people that are on the show weekly. They have a plan for them. They're in storylines. They're doing character stuff. Slowly but surely building bit by bit. So, let's talk about this article that I came across, where It's another tribalist argument. The WWE versus AEW and how they handle their debuts. So here's the article is called "How Bizarre: Hook and Harlan, A Tale of Two Debuts." So essentially, this person is saying it was written by Nick Bizarre of Fightful. Just to read a little bit, they talk about Harlan getting himself over on social media, talking about how he's the next Brock Lesnar. And then they talked about Hook being this sort of, how would you call it? What was, I'm trying to use his exact words. In hindsight, and as ridiculous as this sounds, Hook was presented in the same vein as the original WCW Crow Sting back in 1997. He literally did not speak or wrestle for a full year, but was massively over with the audience. By the time he did wrestle his first match, it was a must-see event. And to that, the pitch-perfect entrance theme, the no-frills presentation, and an impressive dominating win, somehow Hook surpassed the hype. And whereas the rise of Hook was slow and steady, Harlan's was a bit more abrupt. He instantly went from being the mysterious enigma straight out of a Marvel movie to a bald-headed, run-of-the-mill bad guy minion upon his on-screen NXT debut. Gone was the blonde hair and the loud drip, as he called it, and in its place was a Michael Myers-like jumpsuit. Gone was the villainous personality that shone through his social media posts, now replaced by your average WWE-style monster mannerisms. It was yet another example of a legitimate, potential money-making superstar being scooped up by the WWE machine and molded in their own vision. A new vision which was much lesser than the original. Now we are obviously still in the very early stages of each man's career, but the build-up of each respective character is a great analogy for the main differences between WWE and AEW. One side fires itself trying to fix what isn't broken, whereas the other side rides the hot hand organically. One approach leads to an anticlimactic dime a dozen squash match debut on NXT, and the other leads to the hottest selling new t-shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. What is the purpose of this article? But to upset people and say that WWE is WWE dropped the ball with Harlan. They should have just let him be the next Brock Lesnar while we still have Brock Lesnar. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to have a clone on the show? But furthermore, let's say Harlan is a failure. Let's just put it like that. Why did they choose Harlan and not, let's say, Braun Breaker? Why not Tony D'Angelo, who is actually far more over than most people would give him credit for? I mean, Tony D'Angelo did just a couple of vignettes and people were like, he needs to be NXT champion right now. I mean, so the narrative decision to choose Harlan, who WWE is taking a slow and steady route with, you know, they're using his size. They put him with Gacy, and Gacy is a very interesting character who kind of, you know, is coming along in terms of being a cult leader. But this bootlicking for Hook, which is absolutely, it's getting absurd online, if we're being honest. But I don't dislike Hook. I'm starting to just dislike all the people who are just telling me and trying to force me to recognize how good Hook is. It's like, yeah, he had a good couple of matches, but he's only had 2 matches. He's had 2. For fuck's sake, he's only had 2 matches in the entire history of the show. Oh, he was super over before his debut. Yes, because you marks just keep... If a guy has eyebrows, you talk about how he has the best eyebrows because of AEW. That's really all it is. You know, why not compare him to Tony D'Angelo or Braun Breaker? Why not compare him to somebody else who debuted on NXT? They chose Harlan because they don't like Joe Gacy. And they don't like NXT. It's really all that boils down to. You know? And this phenomenon where they have to build up Hook absolutely is getting absurd. It's getting absurd. And this is what I mean by you've got people writing articles with blue check marks. And if these guys are young, they're going online. For starters, I think that all of this praise is very bad for both Hook and Braun Breaker. They need more criticism than praise, if we're being honest. They need to get credit for the good things that they're doing right. But they also need to get criticized too. Or they're going to get the fucking big hit. And what you don't want is some 25-year-old who thinks that their shit don't stink because everybody online likes them. Why create divas and then complain about them? Everybody loved Randy Orton until they found Randy Orton was a shithead. Why do you think Randy Orton was a shithead? Because everybody's kissing his fucking ass for months and months. Talk about how much of a natural he is, how great his drop kick is, how he looks so good and he's such a handsome guy. And then you find out Randy Orton's a complete and total shithead the entire time. It's like, yeah, because you spent all your time kissing his fucking ass, making him seem like, the sun shone out of his ass, and all of a sudden, oh, he's a shithead. So what do you think is going to happen when these guys go online and they see that you blowing him every chance you get? He must think like, oh shit, I got this wrestling shit figured out. All I gotta do is show up, do my anime hair, and do the bare minimum, and people are gonna, lick my boots and completely and totally worship me. Great, thanks for making it so easy. It's almost like they don't think Hook is going to be around in 5 or 10 years. It's like you give him credit for the stuff that he's doing now, but you recognize that he still has a long way to go. He still has a long way to go. But I think that it's exciting to have such young guys that are interesting right now, like Hook, like Brian Breaker and Tony D'Angelo, and to a lesser degree, Dante Martin. It's good to have those kids, but we have to make sure that we're not just trying to destroy their confidence, nor are we trying to, inflate their fucking egos either. There's no reason for that. Just, we don't need to do any of this stuff. And the AEW fans like everything, So to me, it doesn't, when you don't have any discerning taste, none of this shit matters. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later.